Click. Let's go. I think we're live. 1, 2, 3. ABC 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking we are live. It's looking good. All systems go. Amen. Hallelujah. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dana, the Angry Citizen, speaking to you tonight from Brewer, Maine, live with some very important news and information about what's going on here in Maine. And we have some elections upcoming, as do all of the states very soon. And I am endorsing and supporting all candidates that I think are constitutional candidates that are deeply worthy of the position and deeply honored and privileged and immensely pleased tonight to bring you a very candid live interview with a woman who is a good friend of mine, who has deeply and richly earned her position as a good friend and ally here in Maine. Her name is Elizabeth Jordan, and she is running for congressional representative of District 134 here in Maine. I'm so incredibly happy to have her here with me and to be able to speak to her and be able to present her to you and to we the people of Maine, because this is a critical election, and I'm deeply pleased to endorse this woman. She has proven herself to be a friend, an ally, a woman of God, a woman of conscience and integrity. I think she is immensely qualified to be doing this job, and she's seeking it for the right reasons. So, Elizabeth, welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you for having me on here tonight. I appreciate that.
I'm thrilled to have you. I'm thrilled to echo your message. You know, I saw a Facebook post that you had put up about an interview in the newspaper, and in essence saying that they had conveniently omitted some things that you had said, and we're supposed to believe that was an accident. Oops, gosh, sorry. Didn't mean to leave that out. But you and I both are very skeptical of that claim. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about your candidacy, and we're going to talk about why I firmly believe people should vote for you. I want everyone to know I'm not biased on this issue whatsoever. Elizabeth has earned her right to be my friend, my ally. She has shown up diligently at many events with me, stood arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder with me in protests, and she came to the first and second annual Maine Freedom Rallies and stood by us all to preserve and defend our Constitution and our rule of law and our rights. And I firmly believe is in this for the right reasons. So I'm endorsing her and supporting her wholeheartedly, as I believe we all should. Everyone in Maine should. So let's start with, on your website, and I'm scrolling that across the bottom of the screen for those who can see, there's jordanforhouse.org, and you can check this out. And this is the video that you have that's linked on your page of you talking about the issues of COVID and how they affected you, and is a wonderful, wonderful portrayal of both like who you are as a woman and a Mainer and a woman of God, and the harm that was inflicted on you as a result of this, what I consider to be insane COVID scam. So I would like to go ahead and play this. Hopefully it'll play, because we're always plagued with technical issues. But let's see it roll. Nope, not going to roll. Wrong one. All right, abort that. So when you originally decided to run for office, it was, as your website says, greatly in conjunction with or a result of the harm that was inflicted on you during this whole COVID thing. I'm being very careful with my words here. So let's start there and talk about that a little bit, because you and I are very much aligned on this, where it concerns the existence of this so-called disease, the threat that it presented against we the people, and the authority of the so-called government to inflict consequences on us as a result of our questioning of that narrative. And you personally suffered a great deal of harm because of these claims and orders, executive orders, and so-called mandates, right?
Absolutely. That's what got me started. I was perfectly happy. I had returned back home to Maine in 2017. I'd moved back home. This is my home state. I'd been away many, many years in the South, but had moved back after losing my husband and felt a calling to come back home. And I'd been away a long time, but I came back to Maine. I didn't come back to the same place that I left. I was in Bangor, but returned and wound up in Kennebunkport just by chance and God's providence is how I see it. And started to make my life here, had a good life going, had a nice full-time job with an assisted living. And this video that's been brought up shares a lot of that, and was working with the elderly. This was what my degree was in. I was enjoying life, living, working full-time, earning benefits, having health care provided to me, and all of the things that go along with a full-time job, and just enjoying my life here in Maine. And then COVID hit, and the mandates came down, and very quickly I found out I could not wear the mask over my face. And of course I was required to in an old folks home. That's what you have to do. And that's what they made us do. And so I quickly found out I had a medical exemption. I went to my doctor and got a medical exemption. I had a medical exemption to wearing the mask. Well, that did not fly here in Maine. And as a result, within 12 weeks of medical leave, being put on medical leave because I could not wear the mask, I lost the job. For 8 months here in Maine, the governor had put a mandate that you could not grocery shop, couldn't go to your grocery store without a mask. And they set a guard up in our local grocery store. So for 8 months here in Maine, I could not shop for my own groceries. So you talk about not being able to buy or sell. That's predicted in the Bible. We got a little taste, at least I got a little taste of that. It was very difficult for me to live, even go to my post office, because I refused to wear the mask. I wasn't going to put it on and hurt my own health. And I received a lot of bullying because of that. There were a lot of consequences for me, not only losing my job, but I couldn't work. No one would hire me. So I was perfectly healthy. I am a runner. I've run up to marathon distances. I ran the Boston Marathon many years ago. I'm in that kind of shape where I have good lung capacity. I'm a healthy person, and I was unable to work. So that's what COVID did to me. I was out of work for 2 years, although I did find some part-time jobs doing landscaping and various things where I wasn't required to wear a mask. So I'm not one who's going to sit around and wait for the government to pay me. I'm going to find work. And that's what I did. But this all brought about kind of a stirring in my heart. And of course, Dana, you and I met at one of the protests in Augusta. So I had time on my hands. I wasn't working. So as soon as I heard about anything happening in Augusta that was calling out for Maine to reopen, for the vaccine mandates to not be a thing, all of that, I was at every one of those protests because I had time to do it. I wasn't working, and nor could I work if I wanted to.
Yeah, so, let me pause you there, and we'll pick up where you just left off there, because I know I know exactly where you're going. You have more to say, and I'm with you on that. So I want to just throw in here, because it is my mission to throw in my weight and alliance with everyone I feel is speaking the truth. And Elizabeth has absolutely said everything valid and true there that I needed at the very beginning of this, and this is on record. You can look at my videos and you know where I stand on this issue. And I've right from day one challenged this narrative. Show me this disease. Show me it exists. Prove to me it exists. Prove to me it causes people to get ill. Prove to me it's transmissible from person to person. Prove to me that smothering my face is going to somehow keep everyone safe. Prove it. And if it's so obvious, which obviously it must be so obvious, right? Because they would laugh at you and mock you and ridicule you when you dared to suggest these things or ask these questions. Well, if it's that, excuse my French, Elizabeth, cover your ears. If it's that fucking obvious, then you should be able to show it to me without the slightest hesitation in a conclusive way. Here it is. Obviously, there it is. Boom, there it is, right? But they never, ever do they? They laugh at you. They mock you. They ridicule you. They call you stupid. They say, I trust doctors, and they defer to the CDC, and that's all. And then the whole thing gets lost in a cloud of obscurement. I've said from day one, if it's that bad, show it to me. The
Right.
first day I went into, I shop locally here at Parity Supermarket in Brewer, Maine. Almost every day in there. I know all the people. They know me. I love them. And one day I walk in there and there's a man frantically scrubbing down all the shopping carts with a rag as fast as he can. And there's a limit. We're not allowed to have more than 6 people in the store because the government has suddenly decided that they are going to implement this martial law, fascist regime, do what you're told or be punished paradigm. And we, the people of Maine, are supposed to blithely accept that this is valid and true and they have the authority to do it, and we're going to meekly submit. And I said, hell no, right from day one. Hell no. Show me the threat. Show it to me. Okay. They never could. They never could. And then in the course of attempting to tell all of us, we the people of Maine and we the people of the United States, that they are forcing their cure on us, they deprived us of our God-given constitutionally protected rights under color of law, and never presented us with a valid proof of the threat that would have even given them a pretense of doing this, even if we accepted that what they were doing was lawful and constitutional, which it was not. Mm-hmm. And you, among many people here in Maine and nationwide, suffered terrible harm at the hands of these tyrants claiming they were keeping us all safe. So that's where I stand. So you were compelled to seek the office because you didn't feel that it was being done well.
No, I was not represented.
I agree.
No.
Hell yes.
Oh, and they weren't even meeting. They didn't even meet for a year and a half or whatever. Where were they? Nowhere to be found.
Bingo. They were not doing their jobs. They're traitors. They're cowards. They're sycophants, and they meekly subjugated themselves to the powers that be and went along with the narrative and didn't ask questions and went along with the sleazy shenanigans that are going on in the state capital here in Maine, which, as you know, because you and I have been in touch about this, I am all about fixing that, and I am all about holding them accountable, and they will be held accountable because everything they've done is a matter of record. And we, the people of Maine, have all the power and have the ability to hold them accountable if we all unite and make it happen, which I believe we will. So you've now decided, okay, you're going to boldly step up and embrace this role, which I applaud you for, because I'll tell you, I've thought about it many times, and it's such an incredibly, I mean, ask anyone that's done it. Ask our friend Reagan Paul about, how her experience has been. It's a difficult task. So I applaud you for being willing to do it. And as you know, I wholly support you. And we can talk about like whatever issues you want to talk about. I know that recently you were concerned that your words were not represented accurately, and that's foremost on my mind, and I know on yours, in a newspaper article. So you want to start there?
We sure can. That's the most recent thing that's happened. So after getting into politics, 2 years ago, I did this. I ran for this seat and got my name out there and some name recognition that I now have that I didn't have before, and learned a lot. And so I stepped up to do it again. And for me, it's a calling. It's a calling from God. So I'm a believer, and I'm an introvert. This is the last thing I want to do. This is the last thing I want to do. I just wanted to be I want to come home to Maine and be left alone. That's all I wanted. Well, you didn't leave me alone.
We share that. Yeah. I did not want to be doing this. I have better things to do.
And I think that the people we elect should be ones that don't want to do it, that are not in it for the power, that are not in it because they're ambitious to get to the top. I believe it should be regular people like us who unwillingly, stubbornly do it because it's a call from God, which it is for me. And as I said, I would not have done that without it. But so my campaign's been going along very well. This time I've got great backup from a town committee. I've got all kinds of people helping me, and I'm grateful for that.
Good.
My name's out there, and my signs are out there, far surpassing my opponent. She has 4 years of an incumbency, but she's done nothing, in my opinion, except
She's a
take our state
traitor. I'm
down.
sorry to be blunt, okay, but that's the bottom line. When all this COVID stuff happened, Maine, take note of what I'm saying to you right now. When the police told you you weren't allowed to step within 3 feet or 6 feet of someone else, or you had to strap a piece of cloth across your face or not be allowed in the damn store, they were violating their oaths.
Absolutely.
And I'm very angry about it, and that's what unites me with Elizabeth on this point. We are united. You don't have the lawful authority to tell me how far apart I have to stand from people, or whether I have to strap a piece of cloth across my face before I can buy food for my family. That is absurd. It's ludicrous. Sorry, go ahead.
It's tyranny. Well, the most recent thing, just to get to that, has been an issue with my local newspaper, which is the Kennebunk Post. It's a weekly that many of us get, our little town weekly newspaper as well. Last week, they highlighted the candidates. And so I opened up the paper, and I didn't realize this was the week they were going to do it. And here are all the candidates except me. I had never received an email. I had never received an email requesting that I do the questionnaire. Okay. Now, I'm a person who likes to give the benefit of the doubt. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it got lost in a spam folder. Who knows? So I was upset, very upset last week when I was not in there with my opponent and with all the rest of the candidates. But I called the newspaper, got to the right channels, got to the right person, and said, well, you need to print me this week, and let's get my article in this week, and we'll let bygones be bygones. Well, I submitted that on Monday. It was very much before the deadline, and I submitted everything that was in that questionnaire. It's about 3 paragraphs worth. There were 3 sections of it. The first was relevant experience. That's what they were asking for. So I wrote that out, gave that, and I can read that if you're interested in hearing it.
I'd like to hear it. Yes, okay. Go ahead.
All right. So here's my relevant experience, part 1. And they did print this week. This part of it. I bring a lifetime of leadership experience. I served for 12 years in the leadership of a community Bible study with a membership of 150 women. I started a natural food co-op out of my home to provide access to my neighbors to organic and local food, which also helped to serve local farmers. So I was kind of the go-between. I operated an after-school childcare out of my home for teachers' children. These are the things I did mostly while down in Virginia, raising my family. I taught exercise classes through my county's Parks and Recreation program, worked part-time as an activity coordinator in an assisted living residence, which is what I was doing up here. And I balanced my own family life and our finances and our household budget. As a wife, mother, and grandmother of 3, I cared for my husband until his passing, after which I returned to Maine 7 years ago to start over and serve in my new community. So that's the first relevant experience. Second question is why I'm running. They published this as well. In 2020 and beyond, I had been devastated, both personally and professionally, by the state's COVID mandates, which caused me to lose my full-time career in assisted living. I lost my health insurance coverage and was left unable to work for nearly 2 years. All the while, I was without any representation or support. I'm running to advocate for those who, like me, have felt unheard and to bring about practical changes that support the residents of Maine. I also believe that the people of Maine are best suited to make their own decisions about their communities, their health, their schools, their land and its use, and that includes the housing issues that we face, for which dictates and regulations out of Augusta are not necessary and in fact cause more harm than good. Home rule should prevail. And that's a big issue with my opponent because she was one of the people who wrote the bill LD 2003, which wants to create affordable housing in our towns, which is just causing all kinds of confusion and havoc. As I go to these town meetings and hear the people arguing back and forth, government doesn't do it. Government can't do it. It doesn't do anything well, except maybe they're supposed to protect our borders, which they're not doing. So they're not doing that well right now. And they're supposed to provide a military, which is questionable. I love our military and I honor them above everything.
But you're right. The government's role the government has clearly been shown to be utterly incompetent at virtually everything. And the only way they will succeed and they will do anything correctly is if we, the people, closely oversee them and make sure that they do whatever it is we tell them to do correctly.
Right. And it's preferable to put it in the private sector. Let's just do that. Okay. Let's
Absolutely.
do that. I know.
If we want a task done, like people
Right.
talk about, for example, private prisons or prisons for profit, and people are all upset about prisons for profits because they have these problems. And I say, well, the prisons not for profit also had problems. No problems are solved. It's just different problems. The only way it works is if we closely oversee it and demand specific results. And someone has to guard the prisoners, and someone has to write the checks, and someone has to make sure the facility's cleaned. You have a structure that is necessary, has to be there, whether we, the people as taxpayers, pay for it and have some so-called agency pay for it and do it, or whether we hire some firm to do it, it has to be done.
Right.
At the end of the day, it has to be done. And that's why we all agree that we are willing to pay some taxes, a little bit of taxes, to do the basic functions of the government as we, the people, want them to be done. But we, the people, must always closely supervise them to make sure they're doing it the way we want it done. That's why we're in trouble, because we let them do whatever they want.
And spend our money however they want. And there's
there you go. And spend money we don't even have.
Right.
Sending it to foreign nations and hiring, housing illegal immigrants while homeless veterans
with our tax dollars. I know. Sorry, I can't help myself. I don't mean to talk over you.
Right with you. Right with you.
Get me started. So that was where the article left off. Okay, but the third part was of my 3 top priorities for my service in this position, and they left it out. They stopped it. And they started Tracy's.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about, because when I went and looked at it, it was there, but you were objecting, and they were obviously at least a little contrite with that. Oh, yeah, oops, sorry, we did leave that out. Our bad. We'll put it back.
Right. Well, just to kind of make things clear, the printed version of the post left out those 3 priorities completely, but on the online version, it did go in. So. But a lot of people, especially people that are a little older, read the physical newspaper, and they did not get this information.
Well, not only that, there's an element of the physical paper is there for eternity. What was printed can't be unprinted, and what was left out can't be added ever in the printed version. So that's super sleazy. And I'm sorry, but that's just the devil's number 1 tool is lies.
Right, absolutely, deception.
Number 1 tool is lies. Yes. You can lie we are constrained. We as men and women of God, we are constrained to speak truth and do the right thing. The devil has no such constraint. The devil can lie freely with reckless abandon at any time, as much as possible and necessary. And that's the reality we face. Right. So,
so my 3 priorities, if I can go into them, these are my 3 priorities that they left out. I have a feeling they didn't like them too much because they expose some things that the newspaper doesn't want us to know. So here's number 1.
Amen.
I want to work to reduce the tax burden on the Maine people. We are the 3rd highest tax state in the nation. And I've heard recently that now we're 4th. So that could be a correction that needs to be made. I'm not sure. But anyway, 3rd or 4th highest tax state in the entire nation, and one of the lowest in average income. This is unsustainable. That's point 1.
I love that word, by the way, unsustainable. I read that and I was like, point on, spot on, unsustainable.
Right. Yeah, it makes no sense either.
Yep.
Number 2, to introduce legislative restraint. This is what I want to do. Cut regulations and fees and bring back common sense legislation and spending to our state. We currently have a projected $1 billion shortfall that nobody's talking about, by the way. That's my little piece. Because of uncontrolled spending by the ruling party. And of course, we know also the spending more so in the federal government is what's causing our inflation. It's not greedy store owners. Sorry, it's not. It's the government spending, printing money, right?
True.
Sometimes I hear at the doors, people say, well, if the store owners weren't so greedy, I just want to. Anyway, let's go on. Number 3, to support the constitutional right of the Maine people to retain our electoral votes. So the Democrats are trying to take this from us. They want to remove the Electoral College out of our system.
Yes.
And if they're allowed to do that, Maine will have no voice.
Yes. Well said.
That's
a critical point. I'm so glad you touched on it. And I try in vain mostly to explain to people why this is important. People don't understand and they reject the concept. And it's very, very simple, folks. We, the people of Maine, number few, but our interests are very specific to Maine. We have lobsters, we have woods, we have rivers and streams and ponds and a tourism industry and a restaurant industry, and all the people of New York outnumber us. So if all the people of New York decide one day that they want a 3,000% lobster tax, and we have a purely democratic system without an electoral college type of environment, we now face a $3,000 lobster tax. We cannot counter it because we don't have the numbers here in Maine. See, it's the same premise upon which our constitutional republic is founded, that our interests are very different from the interests of Baja California or Montana or Southern Florida or North Dakota. And each of us as a state in a republic has the same rights, and our electoral college votes represent not a group of people as in a number, but rather a physical location and a geographic interest that unites us. We, the people of Maine, have only 3 electoral college votes. And if we lose that, we lose our voice completely. That's what Elizabeth is saying, and she is spot on. Okay, before you decide the electoral college isn't right and our founding fathers were all nuts, investigate the issue carefully, very carefully, because that is something that would be very difficult, if not impossible, to undo. Once it's done, going back is almost impossible.
Right. Absolutely. So that's the end of that story that did not get printed. And I feel I called that newspaper, got after them, chased them down. They finally called me back. But in my opinion, this is election interference. And I'm not throwing that out as an accusation, but it feels a little and it smells a little bit like election interference to me.
You know, we talked about this on the phone, and as I told you then, and I stand by this, that if you want to maintain that any person trying to influence someone to vote for this person or that person is somehow, quote unquote, interfering, which is what the left does a lot. And I'm not, just so all you watching know, I'm not a political person in terms of I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm fiercely independent. I disavow myself of political parties, but the truth is the truth, and facts are facts. And when a person comes in and starts saying, well, if you tell me that I shouldn't vote for this person, that's election interference, or if you pay for an advertisement on TV that says that you should hate Donald Trump or you should love Donald Trump, you're interfering in the election.
No,
our elections are nothing but interference.
Right.
How do most people get elected? They
Absolutely.
buy advertisements on TV.
Right.
And believe me, I know, because I work at a TV station, so I see them. They're pounding. I see Jared Golden and Austin Terrio going at it from all day long, telling each of us how disgusting and evil the other person is and can't be trusted. And then they come on and say how wise and noble and benevolent and grand they are, and how you should vote for them because they're with you. We, the people of Maine, are all together.
Right.
It's just a giant.
That's not election interference. That's just how elections go. But when someone is trying to hide and keep information from people, that's interference. Like the Biden laptop they kept from us before the election that would have caused that election to go differently.
Valid.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They hid that information. They're trying to hide this information that I had and put out. They didn't want it seen. So, I'm not.
As a fiercely middle of the road guy, I have to say in this case, I'm feeling strongly that the evidence says that what you're saying is very valid. If like you said, your Facebook post was something about, you notice how when a mistake is made, it always tends to favor one side. And that's absolutely valid. Absolutely valid. Every time they make a little error, it seems to heavily favor their conspicuously favored individual or party. It's true. And it's despicable. And I hate it. And that's one of the reasons I do what I do, because I want your voice heard. And I want you to be able to voice your outrage in an environment where you can speak freely and no one can strangle your words. I'm not going to comb through your words and pick the ones I want to represent.
Right.
And that's what they do.
Right.
Isn't it? They have a so-called interview. They record you. They talk to you. They write stuff down. And then they carefully nitpick the stuff they want to put out.
Right.
Put it together and present it.
Right. Twist it to not make you look too good. I mean, that's what.
Bingo.
Yeah. So it's tough. And I'm a person who gives grace. And like I said, that first week when they didn't print me, I thought, well, maybe it went to my spam and I missed that email. I'll give some grace. Let's give some grace. I'm all about it. But to do that to me twice, and then to print my opponent twice, and to print me 3/4 of the way, that's just beyond it. But I don't know what I'll do about it, if anything, but it's just.
Well, you're doing something now. You're at least
Right.
speaking your voice. You're speaking the truth. The people of Maine will hear you, and they will make up their minds accordingly, and hold the purveyors of this in the proper light. That clearly they are nefarious. And I always call these people out. You know this. We've known each other a while. You've seen me get in trouble. I've been in trouble a few times, and some conflicts and some, but I don't know. I mean, that's just how God made me. I'm speaking my truth, and that's why I hope my voice will help your voice, because I think people that know me know that I don't hold back. I speak the truth. I speak my opinions very boldly. If you think I'm wrong, you're going to prove me wrong. Come at me, prove me wrong. Otherwise, shut up and admit I'm right. And I've supported you since day one, because I know you to be a principled, strong, virtuous to the greatest extent. I know you're not perfect. Neither am I. You're a woman of God, a real woman of God. You honor the Constitution. You love the state. I know that about you, and I believe you are clearly the woman that should be in that seat. That's my firmly held belief.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to get my story out, my side of the story. And just to add to that video you were going to show at the beginning, it is available on my website that's been scrolling across. That's something I've pinned on the website. And you can also find it on my Facebook page, which is called Elizabeth Jordan for Me, ME, capital letters, Elizabeth Jordan for Me. And if you want to follow my Facebook page, I've got over 1,000 followers, and I'd love to hear from any of you, and all of you from all around the country and the state. And all we can do is keep speaking the truth and hold these people accountable. And I hope there it is.
It's going to work. I love it.
All right.
There she is, folks.
I'm Elizabeth Jordan from Kennebunkport, Maine. I'm a marathon runner, and I have a government-created disability.
There's no sound, is there?
I can hear it.
Oh, good.
I had been working at Atria Kennebunk, which is an assisted living facility. Well, the mask mandate happened. We were given the paper masks initially, and then they decided we needed to wear the N95 mask. It was becoming more and more difficult every day at work. I would go home and be exhausted, and I am not a tired person. I'm a very energetic person. I'm a marathon runner, so this is not normal for me. Following my doctor visit, it was determined I could not work with the mask on, and so it was determined I would need to go on medical leave. I hoped week by week that these things would open up and change, and it never did, so I was terminated in September. Lost my benefits, lost my health insurance. I've probably inquired about 50 jobs over the course of this process. And every one was a similar situation where, oh, well, if you can't mask, you can't work. I was unable to even grocery shop for myself. But I was pretty much unable to do anything, go to stores, go to restaurants. All of that was closed to me. I had become a second-class citizen in this whole process. I think Governor Mills has done Maine a great disservice with this one-size-fits-all policy. These who we are supposed to protect and care for have received the most damage.
Okay.
They did a great work, the Maine Policy Institute, and I hope you all are following the Maine Wire and the Maine Policy Institute, that you support them. They've been a godsend here in Maine. They really helped to open up a lot of the discussion around this COVID nonsense. And they had several videos of different people in different situations that suffered because of it. And I was just blessed to have the opportunity to do that and to share my story. So.
Well, I'm extremely grateful to you for being so willing to endure what you endure. And I want everyone listening to know this woman goes out and meets the people in her district, knocks on the doors, has face-to-face conversations, looks them right in the eye and says, please vote for me. Here's why I would like you to vote for me. I'm asking you to vote for her. I have staunchly avoided talking about your opponent because I don't know if I can do it without getting really angry.
Right. I'd like to leave her
I
out.
am white hot, livid angry, America. I'm going to tell you why. At some point, the government of Maine told us there was a terrible, horrible plague circulating the earth, killing people in droves. That was terrible and highly contagious. And we all needed to hide in our homes, shut down our businesses, wait for a cure from the marvelous drug companies that have a sterling reputation for excellence at curing every disease in the face of the earth. The 85-year-old cancer foundation can't find a cure for cancer, but we're going to find one very quickly for this disease. And you were told you must obey all of these mandates. Well, I being foolish said, whoa, stop the bus. What's a mandate?
Right.
Okay. And believe me, I heard about what an idiot I was. They were executive orders that told me I had to blah, and you had to blah, and I went, because I am this guy. Okay. This is how God made me. And I went, whoa. What do you mean executive order? What order? What, does she have the right to tell me what I have to wear? Can she tell me I have to have a tattoo? Can she tell me I have to, stay in my home for 7 consecutive days? Okay. The government, our government, it works for us.
Correct.
We tell them what to do.
Exactly.
They don't tell us what to do. And I stood up in Augusta and said this, and I'm still saying it. Okay, Janet Mills has no lawful authority to tell me or anyone in Maine what to do.
That's right.
She was elected, even though I don't think she was. I think it was fraudulent, and I can prove that, but let's not go there right now. She was elected, if the election was valid, which it wasn't, to sign legislation into law.
Right.
An executive order has no power over me. I defy it. I decry it. I will never obey one. If you, the police of Maine, you want to come arrest me because I'm violating an executive order, bring it. That's you acting under color of law, which is a felony. The governor of Maine does not have any lawful authority to tell you what to do or to shut down your business or to hide in your home. I stand by that 1,000%. That's something I'm never going to waver from. Come at me, prove me wrong. And I just recently posted on my Facebook page an open letter to the Maine legislature and the governor of Maine and expressed my views on a couple of subjects. And I will continue to do that very loudly. And I think if all the people of Maine get behind me, that we will see progress on these issues, because I think we all agree. I don't think anyone in Maine thinks it's okay for the governor to tell them to shut down their business.
I agree. We need to
sure I'm right.
People need to come together. We need to come together and push back. And that's why we need to elect.
Thank you.
We need to just throw them all out, except the ones that are doing their jobs properly, by representing the people, which is their job. And start fresh. Let's do it. Let's do it, Maine. Come on, step it up. Let's come out on.
We're gonna have to do this again really soon, Elizabeth.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you why. I had it, like, when I first started talking to you about this, and I was really excited, and I got a whole bunch of issues. There were so many issues. I thought, well, this is just ridiculous. We're going to turn into like a 3-hour podcast with talking about, the Maine, the CMP corridor, and the regulations on the lobster industry, the ridiculous, insane, idea that somehow Maine lobster gear is tangling up and murdering right whales, and that they have the right to tell us how to fish, and the offshore wind, and all of it is just, there's so much to talk about. But I like the fact that I think we got a really good representation of you, and I'm thrilled that I was able to bring you on here. And everyone that is watching this, I hope you share it, and please ask everyone in this district 134 to vote for this woman, because she deserves your vote. And I look forward to seeing some positive results in this election, and some real progress in all the issues that confront us both here in Maine and nationwide. And I will always be there for you to help you in any way I can. I appreciate your friendship and your alliance. You've been a good friend to me, and a real patriot, and a true woman of God. And I mean everything I say. And I hope that you get elected. I will be praying, literally praying for you to be elected.
Thank you, Dana. And I appreciate that. Just the opportunity to speak in front of a lot of people, possibly. And, thank you for bringing my story out. And thank you for being a friend to me as well. And for being a strong, real man here in Maine who's willing to step up and speak out, because there's too few of you. So
thank you.
Yeah,
we've covered that. We've talked about that. It's a volatile issue, but we have talked about it. That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah. Well,
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you. God bless you.
Look forward to hearing from you soon.
Safe and, let's hopefully see you get elected and see some progress in the State House here in Maine. So thank you all, America, state of Maine, everyone who's watching. Thank you. I urge you all to go to The Flame USA. My sponsor, as always, is The Flame. The Flame USA is an amazing patriotic newspaper that's printed out in Oregon by my two friends, Anna and Nicole. God bless you both. Check out Ohio Brett, my buddy Ohio Brett, ohiobrett.com, an amazing, strong Christian man making progress in the field of uniting patriots nationwide. God bless us all in this dark time, and let's work together, Maine especially. They say as Maine goes, so goes the nation. I've been trying hard to bring us all together and get us all on the same page with regard to how to take back our state. America, same thing. Every state, we have the ability to take back our state county by county, and hold all the tyrants accountable if we all work together. So let's make that happen. God bless you all. Thank you for watching. I'm Dana the Angry Citizen signing off. I will see you all again very soon. Take care.